is Nigeria Info.
Ventus election, which saw the defeat of underperforming incumbent Goodluck Jonathan. Riding a wave of optimism that change was possible, it was supported by a powerful coalition and had the reputation of being a hard-man soldier who would get things done. After Mr. Buhari's brief stint in charge in the 1980s, his second coming was on the back of promises to curtail the rampaging Islamist insurgency in the northeast and tackle widespread corruption. He is the last of a generation of British-trained military men who went on to govern the country. But the 80-year-old 2 4-year terms have left many disappointed. There have been gains in tackling Boko Haram and other extremist groups in the northeast, aided by improved military hardware from the U.S. While the groups still carry out attacks on communities and military installations in the region, it's a big improvement from the years when they operated freely and controlled a large portion of Nigeria's territory. Mr. Buhari also utilized Chinese loans to upgrade the ailing road and rail infrastructure, building a new port in Lagos, completing a crucial bridge in the southeast, and passing important electoral and oil sector laws. But whatever gains have been recorded in the northeast against the Islamist militants have been eroded by the emergence of equally violent groups in other parts of the country under his watch. Clashes between farmers and cattle headers from Fulani ethnic group, which had simmered for years, were allowed to boil over into deadly armed confrontations with an ethnic element as the government ran out of ideas to solve the problem of where animals could graze. Mr. Buhari, a Fulani from northern Nigeria, was accused of his bias in the conflict, and his proposal of grazing reserves for the herders were rebuffed by powerful southern state governors who saw it as a land-grabbing tact. Some of the armed groups created by the farmer herders crisis have since transitioned into violent motorcycle riding bandits targeting communities in the northeast and central states. Those groups have helped turn a lucrative kidnap for ransom business into a behemoth that now extends countrywide. It took hold during the first decade of the century when oil workers were kidnapped in the Niger Delta and blossomed under Mr. Buhari's watch as the targets changed. For instance, thousands of school children were abducted between December 2020 and September 2021. And according to the UN's Children's Organization, UNICEF, that eclipsed the 270 girls seized from a school in Chibok who made global headlines in 2014, a crime that was a crucial factor in Mr. Buhari defeating Mr. Jonathan. Quoting him now, "I thought that as a former military ruler, he would have the solution to Nigeria's security challenges." That's Musa Amadou, a farmer now living in northwestern state of Kano, told the BBC. Mr. Amadou, originally from the president's home state of Katsina, abandoned his land and fled to neighboring Kano alongside thousands of others because of the activities of armed groups in the region. Many also believe that Mr. Buhari has mishandled the situation thrown up by separatist leader Nnamdi Kanu. Mr. Kanu heads the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, a group seeking succession in the southeast, which is proscribed by the government. As a charismatic figure with a huge appetite for sensationalism, which he fed devotees via his internet radio station. IPOB was largely ignored by many Nigerians until Mr. Kanu was first arrested for treason by the Buhari government in 2015. A subsequent state-sanctioned attack on his home marked the beginning of an armed confrontation that spiraled out of control, claiming hundreds of lives in the process. After escaping in 2017, he was abducted in unclear circumstances abroad and returned to Nigeria in 2021 to face trial. A judge has ordered his release as the process of his return was illegal, but authorities continue to hold him. These security challenges made many question Mr. Buhari's handling of a sector that was supposed to be his area of expertise. Quote now, "I'm surprised at the level of embarrassment he has brought to his constituency, the military, despite all the promises he made," said retired Colonel Hassan Stan Labi, a security analyst. "How can you fail in your area of specialty he asked. The countrywide insecurity under Mr. Buhari has largely been muted in the oil-rich Niger Delta, where oil militants and sea pirates held sway in the past. But that pace seems to have coincided with the period of large-scale oil theft, with the government accused of looking away while different groups in the region still crude from the pipelines. This led to Nigeria's production plunging to a 30-year low in 2022. The shocking discovery last October of a kilometer-long pipeline used to steal oil was described by commentators as nearly impossible without the help of authorities. In one location, thieves built their own 4-kilometer-long pipeline through the heavily guarded creeks to the Atlantic Ocean. There, barges and vessels blatantly loaded with stolen oil from a 7-meter rig visible for miles on the open waters. That theft on such a scale happened directly under Mr. Buhari, who also doubled as Nigeria's petrol minister, undermined his claim to be fighting graft. That's according to Salawuddin Hashim of anti-corruption NGO Clean Foundation. It told the BBC. Mr. Buhari's integrity was also plunged by his frequent medical trips to the UK, despite spending large sums to refurbish a clinic in the presidential villa. This lack of transparency drained taxpayers' monies, encouraged illicit financial flows, and all other corruption-enabling activities the administration preached against. That's according to Awal Rafsanjani, the head of Transparency International in Nigeria. It told the BBC. Mr. Rafsanjani scored the administration 4 out of 10 in fighting corruption and said Mr. Buhari's appointment of people with ongoing corruption cases to his cabinet and his wife's long stay in expensive Dubai homes contravened best practices by an administration that was fighting corruption and mismanagement. As he leaves, Mr. Buhari's ending of Nigeria's economy will most likely be remembered for his botched attempt earlier this year at redesigning the local currency. An otherwise rudimentary exercise descended into chaos as scarcity of new Naira notes, which have now almost disappeared, resulted in untold hardship for millions in the country who relied on cash for basic needs. Quote now, the small businesses were doing was destroyed by that man, said a university graduate in Abuja who made money by supplying banknotes to our customers before the cash crisis. Anger was fueled by a common problem in Nigeria, a lack of work among educated young people. Currently, 1 in 3 Nigerians who want to work are unable to find a job. Before Mr. Buhari took over, that figure was less than 1 in 10. The government has blamed a drastic drop in oil prices in its early days and the COVID pandemic and Russia's war in Ukraine. But some of its policies, such as currency restrictions and closing the land borders to boost local production, have contributed towards the record inflation that has made millions poorer, depleted a once budgeting Nigeria middle class. Last week, with the end in sight, Mr. Buhari pleaded with lawmakers to hurriedly approve a $800 million US dollars, that's about 640 million pounds loan from the World Bank. Nigeria's public debt could pass 150 billion US dollars this year. When he took over, it stood at a little over 60 billion US dollars. His borrowing spree was drawn warnings from the World Bank that Africa's largest economy was using 96% of its revenue to service debts. But the huge debt has been defended by the administration, who say it's within acceptable limits, pointing to cash payments to poor people as justification for some of the loans. This welfarist intervention gave a window into the kind of soul of the president, a man that some people have been bothered to discern, dissect, and decipher. That's according to presidential spokesman Femi Adesina. He wrote last week now. Like him, many in the administration, he says it had a good 8-year run. Although both he and his wife have apologized for not delivering on promises made, Mr. Buhari has said he tried his best. Quote now, I want Nigerians to analyze how these things were when we came in and how they are when we're leaving, he responded when asked about his legacy last year. The fact is that Nigerians were safer, better off, and less in debt before Mr. Buhari took over. And many will remember him for presiding over the toughest 8 years they might ever face. And that's the end of that article as published in the BBC. You want to read it more? Now just go on and search for it. I'm sure you'll be able to get it. It was released 2 days ago. And as you suppose, it is gaining reactions from different quarters to say it is true or untrue, as the case may be.
The Current Affairs Show provides a news.
This is Nigeria Info.
Nigeria Info.
Way from the sides of the story.
This is Nigeria Info.
Nigeria Info.
This is Nigeria Info.
Nigeria Info.
This is Nigeria Info.
Nigeria Info.
This is Nigeria Info.
He came in and how things now that he's leaving. He leaves in about 6 days from now as President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. It's time to reflect on some of the achievements, underachievements, controversial achievements, lack of achievement, as some would use. All these options are available on board. But as you do analyze, please, your choice of words are important to us. We'll take that up. We'll take the analysis up after the break. Stay with us. This is Morning Crossfire with Family Live, and I'll be back in a short while from now.
Activities.
Nothing breaks the news like the news. Trust me, I can prove it. I do it every morning on Morning Crossfire from 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Nigeria Info 95.1, and I'm Femi D. Amede. Join the biggest conversation around national politics every day in a way that is trustworthy, full of passion, and yes, covers the biggest politics and the stories that matter to you. See, you have all the reasons to find out what's going on in Nigeria and be engaged differently. Let's talk. That's the way to go, even this morning.
Hello, my name is Kimberly Nwachukwu. I'm the host of Hard Facts, and I bring you the biggest stories driving conversation every weekday here on 95.1 Nigeria Info Hard Facts Show. I love to get your opinion and conjectures, but the facts you cannot dispute here on Hard Facts. Join me and let's talk.
This is Nigeria Info.
Nigeria Info.
This is Nigeria Info.
Nigeria Info.
This is Nigeria Info. is Nigeria Info.
Nigeria Info.
This 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 is Nigeria Info.
Comments about, 6 days from now, it's going to be a new administration. And some say it's a welcome development. It's one that they see as a new pathway for Nigeria. Some wonder about what it will be. But whatever your choice of ideas should be about, I'm listening to you this very morning to take on your calls and to be able to take your messages on as we have it. So you can go on and call in the lines and let's get your messages in, okay? The WhatsApp number remains 080-999-30137, okay? Let's take some of your calls from this very platform this morning. Good morning to you. I'm glad you joined the show.
Yeah, good morning, Femidi.
Yes, good morning. How are you, my brother?
I'm fine. I believe that you are well too.
I am doing good.
All right. Okay. From what you just read out about the, would I call it a result sheet of Mr. President Muhammad Buhari? I don't have anything. I can't remove even a dot from that report. All what they said is completely true. But talking about the incoming administration, I'm not expecting anything. I can't differentiate it from the outgoing administration. They are just one. I will even advise Nigerians to fasten their belts because they will expect more troublesome reports from this incoming administration. Thank you. My name remains Uchenna.
All right, Uchenna. Thanks for your call, Uche. Glad you joined in. Good morning to you. Welcome to the show. Good morning. Hello.
Good morning.
Yes, welcome.
This is Hamid from Gordon.
All right, Hamid, let's hear you.
You see, ingratitude is peculiar to human nature, which is an origin of mankind. You see, what this government has done so far, the thing did not start today. When Buhari was the 1967 governor of North-Eastern State, he performed wonderfully more than any governor in those days. Let me tell you, Buhari is not today. He has been performing more. Every time you see Buhari in government, you see wonderful things happen. Look at the economic service. See which will be commissioned today. Nobody talk about a lot of last week he commissioned a power plant. And other power plants and other consortium. Look at that was the refinery. 650,000 capacity. Let me tell you. Those who are saying this government has not done anything, they are just on their own. They should tell us any government who has done more than this government, they should let us know. Let us compare and contrast. We cannot thank you enough. You are more than any civilian in Nigeria. We appreciate you. May God continue to be with you. Your enemies can never see your back at all. We love you so much. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so much as well. Albina from Lokogoma says, good morning, Femiji. Thank you for reading the article from BBC. Hope Salah from Southeast is listening to this. And one that praises the worst regime Nigeria has ever had and neither benefited from it. Okay? Albina from Lokogoma is of that opinion. Femiji, as the legacy achievements of President Buhari, I join many Nigerians in congratulating Dangote for the uncommon feat and breakthrough as a step towards industrialization of Nigeria from the oil sector. I urge many other Nigerian multi-billionaires with the know-how and financial muscles and potentials to take a cue from Dangote to make a difference that would create some form of developmental revolution in Nigeria for the rest of Africa to emulate. It is to be noted to many that contrary to what most of us would expect, so much miracle from the government in terms of development, the role of the government all over in the main is to create favorable environment via infrastructure, security, and borrowing facilities for investors to leverage on and to thrive on. We hope with this phenomenal breakthrough from Dangote, many of the multi-billionaire Nigerians will now be provoked to wear their thinking cap, get angry, buckle their shoes, and individually and collectively initiate an industrial revolution for young millionaires to take a cue from, rather than expect the government that has no business doing business to be in the business of business. Patrick writes that in. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Family.
Yes, welcome, madam.
This is Tara.
Oh, good to have you on.
Thank you. If you ask me to score the government, I think it's the worst in the history of this country. It started in 1983 or so when we came in. Nigeria went through here then. And now, it's a child's play to what we went through that time was a child's play to what we have experienced now. I don't see anybody that will come and tell me that, what did he do? Is it the railway that Goodluck started, that he finished, and that the bandits took over, and people were kidnapped, paid hundreds of naira to release their families? Is that an achievement? If you want to do something, do it well.
Okay.
There's a people that have been there, and all these things will not even have happened in the first place. Is it the naira swap? Is it the first KC and all everything that goes with this government, this man who called himself the Minister of Petroleum? I know the people will not allow us to really say our mind.
Well, this is a public platform, so your mind needs to be shared with the people who can take your viewpoints accordingly. All right, thank you so much, Madam Tara. This is not the place for abuse. This is definitely not the place for abuse. Let's get that clear. We'd always say this is not the place for abuse. Your mind is welcome to be shared in a way that follows our rules. So this is not the place for abuse. No? So we won't take that on. Family, good morning. On Dangote Refinery, this government with the change slogan should be ashamed of what it has done so far. Yes, Ambassador Goodluck Jonathan Yaradua also failed to repair or build a new one. But one of the main reasons was to vote for APC. I think that's your message. Sounds like something I read earlier already. Femi D, there is nothing like 6 days to go. Oh, okay. Let me get this right now. Femi D, there's nothing like 6 days to go. Why is it stuck? Just a moment. Okay, here we go. Femi D, there's nothing like 6 days to go to the new government. Rather, 6 days to the old government. Please, sir. Okay, and that's the way he expresses this point of view. Taking on the next set, of course. Good morning to you. Good morning.
Good morning once again, Mr. Femi D. Amele.
Welcome. How are you?
Very well. I remember my humble self, Abubakar Ali, aka Tinubu Peking, from PW Kubwa. President Muhammadu Buhari, sir, you have paid your dues. You have done the best you can for your country. You have supported the armed forces. You have supported the infrastructure. You have supported agriculture, and you have surpassed expectations. Forget about these statistics. Mr. President Muhammadu Buhari, we that love you are much more than who don't like you. Mr. President, history will remember you. Posterity will remember you as president who meant well for this country, as president who did his all for his people.
But let me ask you. I like the fact that you used the phrase I wanted to always wonder about. When somebody means well, is that enough in leadership? When you mean well as a leader, but you don't get to do the well that you mean, is that enough?
It's more than enough, Mr. Femi D. Program manager of Nigeria Info, isn't it? If one of your engineers, sound engineers, decided to be mischievous and remove one fuse from the device, you will be grappling. You will be grappling before you get it. Time has gone. That is what has happened to President Muhammadu Buhari, and you cannot erase that. You cannot. So if you have the same people with the same mindset that fully want their country, that places their country ahead of everything, believe me, nothing is going to change. Please permit me to ask Mr. President for the last time. I have your portrait army uniform. I have your portrait already on naval uniform. Please organize an event with the Nigerian Air Force so that the portrait will be complete. Then I will have a 4-in-1 both in the Army, Navy, Air Force, and your civilian one. Buhari, thank you very much, Mr. President. We appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Thanks for your call as well. I do not know why that made me laugh.
You can laugh.
I'm just bye-bye. Leave me. Good morning to you.
Hello, good morning.
No, I can be mischievous sometimes.
I'm laughing also the way you are laughing.
So,
you know what I'm trying to say. This is Kinedu from wherever.
All right, welcome, brother.
You played one click from BBC.
Mm.
When are we going to recover from this mess that this present government put on? That people are saying he did this and do that. I always ask me this. In everything that Buhari did, how much did Nigeria generate for 8 years, and how much did the Buhari borrow, and what did he do? No, for me, when you are like, if you are a businessman, you understand me? What you calculate is, how much goods do I brought in the shop? How much do I sell? How much did remain? And how much gain am I going? How much gain did I make? You understand me? The kind of debt that Buhari keeps, and the thing that people say infrastructure, what is that infrastructure? It's a second Niger bridge. How much did they borrow? From Abuja loot, all the Abuja loot that they recovered, all of them get to Niger, second Niger bridge. They budgeted every year for second Niger bridge. You understand me? So now, what are we asking ourselves? Bag of rice now is for something thousand from 8,000. When is it going to come back? You understand me? So if somebody tells you that Buhari tried, he fortified Air Force, he told this. In average Nigerians, what he left behind?
Okay.
In 1984, that maybe he left, my father or my grandfather told me that they chopped candles before they survive, before another administration comes. That is what happened now. Average Nigeria cannot eat now.
Okay.
Average Nigeria cannot know what he will eat tomorrow. So that is the question we ask. What did he left behind that we remember him for? Is it that I bought a cement for 4,500? Is it that I bought a bag of cement for 45,000? Is it that there is no job? That killing is everywhere in Nigeria.
No.
What is that very infrastructure they are asking us to remember him for?
Okay, let's leave it at that so we could press pushing for the cause as well. Thanks so much, okay? Grateful to you. Interesting viewpoint from him there. Okay, let's read some of your messages. I can see them gradually piling up, and I'm trying to avoid that because I've got to take the break in about 3 minutes. My name is Thank God. Good morning, Femidi. My president and our president has tried, as he said. May God bless him for us. And I can't wait for the incoming government to be inaugurated. All right. Thank God writes that in. Hello, Femidi. The BBC report fully implies that Nnamdi Kanu was actually abducted against international conventions. Selective illegality, says Mr. Ike. Government is a continuum. Development is a process. The new government will come and try their best and go. The naysayers will be put to shame. Long live Nigeria. Idoko from Kubwa did share his viewpoint on that as well. Hello, Femidi. This next message comes along. It says, Belachonovic from Meitama. On Dangote Refinery, this government should give account on how PMS is refined, bought, and sold in the Nigerian space. This is the basis on which Dangote Refinery will explore. And yes, another message now. Oh dear, time is fast spent. Okay, good morning. My name is Nancy. Family, what's going on in Nigeria will make one a bit emotional, so one will find it difficult to call in. I'm totally embarrassed for this government. How can the president be going to commission a refinery built by an individual, and he, as the Minister of Petroleum for 8 years, could not repair one of ours? I hide my head in shame. The president says he has done his best, but when we told him that his good will never be good enough, did he agree? He has left us with much worse than he found us, and we regret his coming and prosperity. Prosperity will remember him for his ineptitude. Well done, Mr. Dangote. If this is yours and not theirs, may God prosper it. But if it's our common patrimony that has been used, but with the gains ultimately going to the cabals, may God avenge for us. Nancy writes that in. All right, that's how much of the calls and the messages I can take right now. Somebody says the sound engineer should be fired, and in my mind I was saying to myself, please don't inspire something in the mind of my sound engineer. So don't let them. They're listening in right now. Don't bring idea. You people should not bring idea. Steve Ogwags is saying that the sound engineer should be fired with response to the call made earlier by I think that was Tinubu Pekin, right? Yes. Okay. Well, let's leave it at that for today. Thank you so much. I take on the interview with Greymont City next, right here on Nigeria Info. Thanks for your time. Thanks for always being here to share your views with us. I'm from DMLM.
The Current Affairs Show provides.
This is